Well, hello, EKN Nation. Welcome to a new edition of our EKN Debrief, our podcast that we do as a race report as part of the EKN Trackside Live coverage. This is episode number 100, making it to the century mark. It is Wednesday, September the 7th, 2022, and the event that we'll be diving into today is the 2022 Xtream Rock Island Grand Prix, the bucket list event in Rock Island, Illinois. David Cole, of course, was there trackside throughout the weekend. He'll be doing the heavy lifting here today as he was trackside. I was not. I'll just kind of quarterback things a little bit here. But as we dive into this edition of the Debrief, we'll let you know that this show is being presented by Comet Kart Sales. History, success, family. These are three words that describe Comet Kart Sales, one of the longest tenured karting businesses in the United States. The family-owned operation is located just outside of Indianapolis and has provided karts, parts, and services for thousands of racers in the near 6 decades of business. Their online store features everything you need, and they are continually adding parts to their product line. Make sure to head to CometKartSales.com or call them at 317-462-3413 to be part of the Comet Kart Sales family today. All right, David Cole, you were back at the Labor Day Classic, the Xtream Rock Island Grand Prix, the event being held September 3rd and 4th this past weekend. Rock Island, as we said, part of the Quad Cities that lines the Mississippi River between Iowa and Illinois. The 27th edition of this amazing event. The first races between 1994 and 1996, a little year off, and back from 1998 all the way through to 2019. And, of course, the 2020 shutdown due to COVID. Back for 2021, and here you are for 2022. How was it? Let's start with weather, then let's dive into the by the numbers.
Well, I kind of teased it. I knew it was going to rain, and it did.
You did.
We had less than 10% chance of rain come Wednesday prior to the event.
Yep.
And sure enough, Saturday evening, as we're trying to wrap up the heat races, a thunderstorm just emerges from nowhere. It's almost like the Mississippi River is very similar to like Lake Michigan. You know how we have that lake effect snow, or
Yep.
Or sometimes you get storms that just build up over the lake. Well, I think the river does the same thing as well, because literally there was nothing on the radar all day long, and then boom, this storm just pops up as a system, or I don't know if it was a front that made its way towards the river, but whatever it was, it created rain, and thunderstorms and lightning. So of course we had to shut things down, and so what they did was move things over the last 3 heats of Saturday over into Sunday morning. So
Yep.
Aside from that, yeah, it was the moisture was in the air all day Saturday. It was humid. It was disgusting. It was gross.
Nice.
Obviously drivers, they're on track. It's a lot easier to be on track than sitting there waiting for the green flag to wave or anything like that. But thankfully Sunday, overcast, and the sun started to peek out a little bit here and there, but it was a cooler temperature, much more comfortable, so much more enjoyable day, especially with the main events running all day long.
So let's have a look at by the numbers. Of course, one of the things we talked about in our Outlap podcast, the preview that we did last week, was kind of the declining numbers a little bit for the Rock Island Grand Prix over the last number of years. You look back to 2017 at 307, 2018 at 295, down to 278 in 2019, 224 after the COVID year that we took off. 199 total entries, didn't quite make the 200 mark, but all in all, David, it's tough to see the numbers kind of fall a bit here for Rock Island.
Yeah, we thought we were going to get just over the 200. Unfortunately, we didn't. So there was a good number of walk-up entries. At least 20, just about 20 entries in terms of walk-up. So that was good in terms of that. But yeah, overall, again, we're just kind of on the decline since 2017 when we were at 307 that year. Mm-hmm. And of course, a lot of different factors into playing as to why. A lot of people have their different theories and different ideas, and some of it's right, some of it could be wrong. It's just a mixture of just not producing the same numbers as what we're used to seeing at Rock Island. But again, numbers don't always make the racing better, because again, you're still going to have there was still good racing all across the board.
Yeah, like we always say, you have a handful of guys up front, especially at Rock Island. You put 5 guys in the lead group, and they're going to put a show on, right? That's the beauty of it. But again, you just look at some of the small things with the declining numbers. There's kind of prompted some other series and tracks to put events on. There was, of course, a big race down in Texas. Route 66 ran this past weekend, and I think that the power that Rock Island had at one point I think people are kind of leaning off of that, which is a shame. It's such a great race. You and I both love the event like crazy, and it would be great to see more people kind of step up and get back at it. But do you want to give us some highlights of some of the numbers so in terms of the highs and lows?
Well, if you look at the numbers, the highest category, the biggest entry total was tied, and it's a mixture. It's King of the Rock Briggs 206 at 21, but also the total amount of vintage drivers was 21. So you think about that. Obviously, the event's kind of moved towards the Briggs & Stratton 206 engine platform since it began there in 2012. But also, it takes a little bit of crazy to run the Rock Island Grand Prix. It really does. And these old guys, or some of them younger, they just have the older carts. They don't care where they race. They just want to be part of something special. And so that's why you see 21 drivers as part of the vintage categories. They have 3 different classes, and they make up 21 drivers. So again, that's, we saw King of the Streets only at 8, Open Shifter Masters at 5. And we're typically, we typically see double digits there throughout the many years at Rock Island Grand Prix. And unfortunately, it's just not there. And that's part of scheduling. That's part of just other things. And again, it's part of just drivers aren't as crazy as they used to be.
or just they're not interested in running that street circuit race, which is and again, let's play this. We talk about it all the time. There's just so much racing going on right now, especially by the time you get to September. A lot of these people are tapped out.
Yeah, exactly. Again, a number of different factors. But looking at all the Briggs categories were double digits all the way through with Ignite. 14 and 12 in their senior categories. Masters was only at 6. So that one struggled. It was a smaller Margay tent there. A lot of, there are still drivers that they had an event the weekend prior too. So that could be a factor as well. Because we know the Ignite program is growing across the Midwest and across the eastern part of the country. So there's not an issue there in terms of drivers racing that category. But we had 206 heavy at 18 and 16 medium at 13 and 12, Masters at 13. So those were kind of very similar to what we saw last year. Nothing big in terms of dropping except for the Ignite Masters category. King of the Rock Briggs, as I said, was at 21. We did see the drop in senior 100cc.
Yeah.
That was 15 last year, and we only got 4 drivers this year. So that's kind of a bad number to get, where we had 5 in King of the Rock 100cc. But yet, that was probably one of the better races, was watching those 2 categories. So,
well, we'll dive into those races, of course, folks, throughout this edition of the Debrief, episode number 100. We've hit the century mark on our Debrief smats. Isn't that crazy, David? Think that 100 debriefs.
It is. It's very unique to be able to get to that point.
Wow, amazing. All right, folks, quick break in the action. When we get back, we'll go to the paddock pass. David's got some more stuff trackside, not the racing, but on the event itself. Stay with us. We'll be back. In karting, it's important to be supported by the right people. With over 40 years of experience in the sport, Trinity Karting Group has everything you need to make your program successful. We do it all, and we do it right. Trackside support and arrive and drive programs at many of karting's biggest East Coast events, full product sales and service, and professional coaching from our experienced staff. Trinity Karting Group is a full-service operation based at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, which gives us access to our custom-designed driver training facility. This allows us to offer private one-on-one coaching to take you to the next level. From arrive and drive and coaching programs to the parts you need, let Trinity Karting Group provide you with customer service and a racing experience second to none. Trinity Karting Group is an official Kart Republic race team, providing full trackside support at all the major USA karting events, including the SCUSA Pro Tour, United States Pro Kart Series, SCUSA Super Nationals 25, and other events throughout the 2022 season. TKG has in stock Kart Republic, IAME, MG and Avinco tires, and more products for those in Ohio and the Midwest region. Trinity Karting Group has a long history of the sport, a winning pedigree, and we're dedicated to driver development. We take pride in our professional approach and our positive attitude. Let us build a custom race program for you. Give us a call at 513-421-4463 or check us out online at trinitykartinggroup.com. It's time to push yourself. Make the jump from the club level and race against the best in the country at the Texas Sprint Racing Series. The premier regional kart racing series in Texas is a 5-race program that travels throughout the southern portion of the United States. The 2022 season is set to come to a close at the Speed Sports Racing Park in New Caney, Texas on September 22nd to 24th. The fall finale will be a special Thursday to Saturday event with racing 2 nights under the lights at one of the best tracks in the country. Registration is now open at TexasSprintSeries.com. If you weren't part of the action in 2022, mark down the Texas Sprint Racing Series schedule for the 2023 season. Action begins on March the 24th to 26th at NOLA Motorsports Park in New Orleans. May 26th to 28th is a return to racing under the lights at Speed Sports Racing Park. June the 30th to July the 2nd is the midway point of the next season, and then races on August 4th to 6th and September 15th to 17th will close out the year. Details on the final 3 locations will be announced in the future. For information about rules and the class structure for this official SuperKarts USA and International Kart Federation Series can be found at TexasSprintSeries.com. Welcome back to the 100th episode of our EKN Debrief as we dive into the Rock Island Grand Prix, the Labor Day Classic event. This edition, of course, brought to you, as I said, by Comet Kart Sales as we jump now into the Paddock Pass section. This section presented by Acceleration Kart Racing. Acceleration Kart Racing has everything you need to go racing, from tires to helmets. They have a great website for you to order from and kart racers ready to pick up the phone and answer your questions 6 days a week. With over 20 years of kart racing under their belts, Acceleration Kart Racing has the experience to help you succeed on the track. You can rely on them to get the parts you need when you need them. Make Acceleration Kart Racing your go-to source for everything karting. Head to www.shopakr.com. All right, DC, let's, I was obviously out at the IndyCar weekend, the Road to Indy weekend in Portland, but I was obviously following all the social media. And one of the ones, the post that you made that I thought was quite interesting was the skyline of turn 5 and turn number 6, in terms of the fact that they've literally got rid of a couple of buildings. I had to kind of go back and try to figure out where I was in looking at the photos that you used.
Yeah, the building just outside of the entry point of turn 6. So essentially where you pull off and scale, there used to be a brick building there. Well, that's been demolished. It was shortly demolished, I think, just after, it might have been early this summer. Okay. They're doing a new court building that is going to be put in place there. So they're obviously looking at trying to revitalize the downtown area of Rock Island, and that's one of the key elements there. They're also building just on the outside of the paddock a new YMCA area. So the construction in the area is promising for Rock Island, but it just for right now is made for a different, as you said, kind of backdrop for the racing event, especially looking at through turn 6 where you stand there in the paddock and on the pit lane there. So it certainly gave a unique aspect and viewpoint. And then also it looked a little bit different between 4 and 5. I'm not sure if there were a few trees that were knocked down the front straightaway as well too. So kind of, that one tree that we always are kind of shaded by there by Terry Riggins' scoring trailer was not there anymore. So it gave you a little bit more space there, but certainly took away the shade for the early portion of that Saturday morning when it was very, very bright and sunny. So obviously different looks in those couple of areas of the racetrack itself.
One of the things about the Rock Island Grand Prix is that the track is not always exactly the same layout, but depending on where they put the barriers, the apex could change a little bit. And of course that, because of the bumpy nature of any kind of a city street, can change the way the event is. Another thing, David, I picked up from kind of watching all your coverage on the weekend, I was a little surprised that they ran the barriers around the outside of the corners to make the corners what it seemed really tight, right? Normally it's just the apex and then there's all that room to the outside. Was that something that would look to be something a little different for me this year?
No, it's something they've done in the past. I know what you're thinking, because when we looked at building the racetrack, we're thinking of a square outside, where you have the apex as the rounded part, but the outside should be squared. Well, I think it's due to the amount of barriers that they have. They're limited to the amount of barriers that they have, so they have to make that the outside rounded to where they can do the kind of a square look with the secondary barriers, the taller ones, the gray ones that you see in the photos. So again, it's more so the tightness of the racetrack that's kind of changed over the last couple of years, especially turn 1 and turn 5. They're not quite as open as what they used to be in the past. So it kind of, those are two very key passing zones on the racetrack. So it makes for a little bit more interesting and have to be a little bit more calculated in your passing and timing of a pass, and certainly in those sections. But the one thing across the board is that every time we go back, there's more and more bumps. That's, unless it's a complete repave, there's certain areas that just weather a little bit worse than others, especially the transition between the bricks that they use for the sidewalk crossings and the actual pavement of the street. Those, especially on the straightaways, have gotten to be a little bit harder. Going down the front straightaway towards turn 1, that one's really bad. And then, of course, going down towards turn 2, that is another straightaway bump that you don't expect to get as you're, motoring, 80 miles an hour down towards turn 2. But again, and then turn 5, again, just always seems to be the most bumpiest area of the racetrack, and continued to live up to its name on that.
What else you got here for the Paddock Pass?
Well, we talked about it in the numbers, a lot of other events scheduled on top of this weekend, and, a busy 2022 schedule. It certainly has been. We've been nonstop at eKarting News since the first weekend in January.
Yeah.
And it's kind of been nonstop ever since. So it provides a really busy calendar throughout the year. I mean, we're just now getting into September, and it feels like we've been already through a full season. Mm-hmm. And again, adding those, you got Route 66 that was 2 hours away down at Kart Circuit Autobahn. You had the Speed Sports Racing Park with their Lone Star Grand Prix down in Texas. There was another event as well too. I can't recall the other event. I thought there was another one. I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure but there were also events prior to, you had Stars Championship Series in New Jersey. So that's shifter focus. So that kind of hurt on the King of the Streets side of things, and Open Shifter Masters. And you also had the Ignite program running their Ignite Challenge event at Mid-State Kart Club the weekend prior to. Yeah. So they had 88 Ignite entries on that weekend. So the Ignite entries are out there. It's just, again, getting them to the Rock Island Grand Prix. That's kind of the roadblock right now, I think, is just getting people there. There were probably, I want to say, at least 2 to 5 new drivers that had never been to Rock Island Grand Prix. So it's something, but there's a lot of people who raced in the past that just aren't coming back anymore. Or again, because of scheduling conflicts, they couldn't be there. So it's just a lot of different factors into kind of the decline of the numbers.
Let's go to a positive here to cap off this edition of the Paddock Pass. And you and I know that from being there for many years when I was there announcing as well. Dave McIntyre, who the voice of the Cup Cards North America program, was always there having fun and always had a great time with Dave. Finally getting an opportunity to join as part of the announcing crew. So one of the new voices of the events. I'm sure Dave McIntyre had a pretty good weekend.
Yes, he did. I mean, anytime he goes to the Rock Island Grand Prix, he has a great time. Anytime he's at the racetrack, he's having a great time. So it definitely provided a new voice, a new outlook in terms for the spectators surrounding the event that come each and every year. Again, that was one of the things I noticed. It seemed to be a little bit busier than 2021 was last year. Partly maybe because, the COVID restriction guidelines are a little bit lesser, but anyway, the voice they heard, Dave McIntyre, certainly is a unique character and gives different insight into the event, and was joined by Jay Kidwell from the local 4 news station there at Rock Island. So Jay there, his second year for the Rock Island Grand Prix, while Dave, again, just a different voice and a lot of enthusiasm behind it.
What about, I know that we don't have this down here, but what about the atmosphere? Did you get a chance to go to one of the, was there a concert on Friday and Saturday night? Did you head that? How was the district, man? Did you get some pizza or what?
No pizza. They
You
do
did?
not have their. Yeah, again, that it's not the same Rock Island, Rob. I'll just say,
Oh,
I'll just
man.
put it that way. It is not the same Rock Island Grand Prix that we're so used to. It's and that, that's the conversation I had with another number of different people, including those on the committee, and just I'm like, there needs to be kind of like a 180 on this event, because it's been the same thing over and over, and nothing's getting changed, nothing's been updated. And sometimes when numbers are starting to go down, you got to kind of take a look at it and like, all right, we need to flip this thing around.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, the Huckleberries did not have their dining room open, so I told them no, thank you.
Wow.
And basically, I ate at Steve's Old Time Tap all weekend long.
Man. Okay.
And when the beverages are good and the food is edible, why not?
That's true. Great atmosphere in the Old Time Tap, man. I love that.
That is yes, it was a good atmosphere in there. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, so that was good with racers in there. But overall, Saturday it was raining, so
yeah,
we had no idea where they had moved the concert. We didn't even know they moved the concert indoors, and we went to some other place, and of course Steve's Old Time Tap. But just the atmosphere is not there. I'm not quite sure how all I can think of is that the city just hasn't really looked at that.
Yeah.
And there's nobody, again, kind of like promotion on karting, somebody takes a lead and goes with it. They just haven't had that person to be able to do that for the off track activities there at Rock Island.
Yeah, man. Again, it's tough, right? Because we have this bar set so high. We've had so many good times over the last 20 years at the concerts, whatever it may be, the Travoltas. It's tough. Of course, that's what we look at, right? We look at the times that we had before. Yep.
It's like going to Vegas and no gambling.
I hear you. All right, listen, it's time to start talking about some of these races here right now. There was a lot of racing going on trackside through Saturday and Sunday. When we get back after this quick break, we'll dive into the race report, starting with King of the Streets. We'll hit all the King classes to get things underway. Made in the USA. That's exactly what you get from Precision Karting Technologies. Based in Detroit, Michigan, PKT brings over 35 years of manufacturing experience to the sport of karting. Their passion for the sport began focusing around the Kid Kart platform and has expanded every year with hundreds of products designed to put you on the podium. Precision Karting Technologies is known around North America for their successful line of axles available in all age groups. PKT manufactures a number of engine products for Comer, IAME, Rock, Rotax, and the popular Briggs & Stratton 206. A wide variety of chassis components for the many brands in the sport are available through PKT, including hubs, pedal risers, skid plates, and other hardware for your kart. Axle straightening, chassis adjustments, engine service, and specific CNC machining projects are available through their Motor City headquarters. To learn more about the many products and services available from Precision Karting Technologies, head to pktaxles.com. You can buy all the latest and greatest products on the market. But when you're karting to win, it boils down to one thing: you, the driver. Gain the knowledge and abilities by investing in yourself at the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy, and you'll find those extra tenths of a second you need to put yourself on the podium. The school was established by SuperKarts USA Hall of Fame driver Alan Rudolph, with decades of victories and championships in multiple forms of the sport, including other disciplines of racing. The Alan Rudolph Racing Academy, located at the Speed Sports Racing Park in the metropolitan Houston area, is designed to teach driving skills at all levels. The instructors of the Academy have decades of racing experience and educating drivers of all ages. Classes at the Academy will teach the concepts and skills needed both behind the wheel and off the track. From the beginning kart racing experience and intro to karting courses, to their advanced 1-day and 2-day courses and karting clinics, the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy can improve the skills of any driver. For more information on the specific programs that the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy can provide for you, head to speedsports.com and click on the Racing Academy page. Be sure to follow the Academy on social media by searching for Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. Welcome back to episode number 100 of our EKN Debrief as we take a deep dive into the Rock Island Grand Prix, the 27th running of the Labor Day Classic. We'll jump into the race report right now, powered by DID Chain. Powered by technology, DID Racing Chains have a worldwide reputation for superior quality and reliability. A rich racing tradition where results speak for themselves, DID prides itself on engineering the most technologically advanced chains on the market to help you excel on and off the track. DID's SDH pin treatment creates an extremely hard chromium carbide layer on the pin surface that houses a soft inner core to absorb extreme shock loads. DID's 219 HTZ racing chain boasts this SDH pin technology, which leads to a longer chain life, as well as excellent energy transmission to the wheels. Available in the gorgeous gold, the 219 HTZ is the ultimate racing kart chain. Pick up a DID chain at your local dealer today because when winning is the only thing that matters, go with DID. All right, David, let's jump into King of the Streets. Again, tough to see only 8 entries for this one. Defending winner Andrew Bedozo was back, though. You can talk about some of the previous winners if you like, but otherwise dive into to see what we saw trackside.
Yeah, King of the Streets was a domination by defending crown winner Andrew Bedozo. This year they instituted qualifying for all 3 of the King categories, so that kind of gave a little bit extra flavor to the event and for those categories. Bedozo ended up laying down a 32.216 for fast time in qualifying, and it was interesting that all top 5, all on Magic Carts, were within 0.2 of each other. So that was a real interesting session to kind of watch and play out. Bedozo led the wire-to-wire in the heat race on Saturday, winning by 4 seconds ahead of Scott Skitchy Barnes, with Austin Wilkins in the 3rd position, AJ Myers in 4th, and then Robbie Bedozo in 5th. A little bit of interesting at the start. Myers was unable to make it around on the pace lap as his steering hub actually broke, and he was unable to steer the cart. Barnes and Wilkins each had DNFs as well early on in the main event, while Bedozo got the whole shot from the pole position and led wire to wire for an 11-second victory ahead of his brother Robert in 2nd spot.
Nice. Looks like Joe Rook coming home in 3rd, Blake Korth in 4th, and Justin Kelly rounding out the top 5. Interesting, as you have here, David, Bedozo becomes only the 4th different driver to win multiple King of the Streets events.
Yeah, and in back-to-back years as well, too. So 4 drivers have gone back-to-back years and also winning multiple King of the Street titles. So certainly etched his name there at the Rock Island Grand Prix now. And his speech wasn't quite as crazy as it was last year, but he did have a musical element, and it was an AC/DC song. I'm wondering if you can think of that song.
Wow, I don't know which one would have been.
I've got the biggest balls of them all.
Dirty Deeds, done dirt cheap. First album I ever bought, by the way.
Yeah. So, it was, I use craziness a little bit more than say balls, because it's a little easier to say and a little more PG rated, but
that.
Yeah, it certainly does. These guys, man, they come around that first lap. They were all sideways. I think
I love it. I love it.
Robbie, I think all of them hit the wall at one point.
Oh,
that's the wild part. Some of them survived it, some of them didn't, but I think they all hit the wall at one point.
Let's say this, for the folks who haven't never been to the Rock Island, even to watch it. When you were where we announced them at start finish line, you can hear them coming at a 5, right? And the cool factor is when they come out of turn number 6, you're kind of figuring out what kind of entry line they have, right? Are they wide? Are they going to touch? Are they narrow? It's always wild to watch them coming out of turn number 6. I will say that from all my years there.
That is true.
All right, let's go to King of the Rock 206. Actually, this was a big class, 23 in the King of the Rock. As you said, the Briggs drivers continuing to support this big event. Defending winner was Mike Dittmer coming in as the king. But Connor Lund, David, coming out of the gate with the fastest time in qualifying.
Yeah, Connor Lund on the Comet Eagle. Also, Dittmer won last year on the Eagle. So it certainly has that success with Gary Lawson, one of the former designers of the Eagle chassis there, and certainly knows its way around the Rock Island Grand Prix. Lund set fast time with a 38.126 with Tony Nielsen, a 22-time winner at the Rock Island Grand Prix in 2nd, and multi-time winner Jeff Dolian in 3rd. Heat race actually went to Michael Welsh, who qualified in 4th. Again, just guys trying to find their spot. and kind of measuring up each other in the 10-lap heat race, with Nielsen ended up in second, Barnes up to third, with Dolian ended up in the fourth spot, and Dittmer up to the fifth position. Drake Ostrom, a driver we weren't kind of watching, but obviously we've talked about him before. I think we talked about him in the outlap as well.
Yeah,
qualified ninth, finished eighth in the heat race, but again, just had to be in the right place at the right time. The main event started with a red flag. Opening lap, a turn 6 wreck, including Jeremiah Davis being one of them, actually bent his axle in that wreck, but continued on and drove to 10th after with a bent axle. So certainly a strong drive for him. He was a man on the mission. We'll just say that. Nielsen jumped out to the lead early on, but and essentially was leading the entire distance. But on the last lap, Ostrom was able to push Connor Lund by Nielsen, and then in turn 2 get by Lund for the lead, and then Ostrom was able to hold the lead through the final couple of corners to be able to cross the line with the victory to earn his first King of the Rock title.
Wow, good for him. And the margin less than 0.2 of a second over Dolian, Welsh, Wishart, and Nielsen. What else? You got a little something about Scott Barnes in here as well, David?
Yeah, fast lap. I'm just kind of recording fast lap of the race, kind of compared to last year. 37.254, which was half a second quicker than last year, but Barnes ended up in the 7th position, was certainly pushing and trying to get up to that lead pack, which I think was about 6 drivers there at the end.
Let's wrap up the King of the Rock summaries with the 100cc category. 8 entries in total. Race Liberante, the defending winner, but not here this year. Let's run through qualifying with Justin Wishart up front, P1.
Yeah, essentially was a show for Wishart all day or all weekend long. Set fast time in qualifying with 35.376, beating Oscar Pinozzo, who was making his first trip to the Rock Island Grand Prix under the Magic Kart tent. Scott Barnes in third aboard a Margay with KA Power.
Nice.
So that was an interesting story. Unfortunately, Barnes, after the heat race, retired due to or did not compete in the category due to just being exhausted and the engine power plant not exactly running at speed. Wishart actually drove to the heat race win and was out to a big lead in the main event until Austin Wilkins, a former King of the Streets winner and Open Shifter winner as well too, was making his way forward, set fast laps of the race to be able to drive up to Wishart. Got by him by the time the white flag came out, but on the final circuit, Wishart was able to get around him and took the lead and secured the victory with a last lap pass, holding him off at the line by only 42 thousandths of a second.
Wow. All right. I like that. That's a good show for sure. Good job for Wilkins, but congratulations to Justin Wishart on that victory in the King of the Rock 100cc.
His first Rock trophy as well, too.
Wow. First Rock trophy, the King of the Rock. I like it. Nice. All right. Another break in the action. When we get back, we're going to jump into the 206 categories, 206 heavy and 206 medium, as well as 206 masters. We'll go all Briggs in the next segment.
Are you ready to go from karts to cars? Since 1975, the Skip Barber Racing School has taken great drivers and made them champions. Today, we're proud to welcome the next generation of winners. Make the transition from karts to cars with the Skip Barber Formula Race Series. You'll compete at the most iconic tracks in America. Race weekends include your very own equalized Formula 4 race car, a professional crew, expert instruction, video and data analysis, hospitality, and more. This is the place to fulfill your dream of becoming a champion. Sign up today by calling 866-932-1949 or visit us at skipbarber.com.
In racing, experience is priceless. Franklin Motorsports is a leader in the karting industry with over 50 years of combined karting experience, and we can provide you with everything you need to go racing. With a large online product selection, select track support events, and a wide variety of shop services, Franklin Motorsports is your complete karting source. Check out our online store at www.franklinkart.com, where all our products are just a mouse click away. We're constantly adding to the growing product selection on the online store, and we ship daily to ensure products get to you quickly. We specialize in IAME engines, tilt seats, ceramic products, driveline branded products, Briggs & Stratton engines, OTK products, and of course, the championship-winning Merlin chassis. In our online store, you'll find a variety of items to fill your karting needs. Franklin Motorsports is also known for our wide variety of services and is home to Innovative Engine Works by FMS, our in-house engine service department. Frame straightening, kart prep, and dyno testing are all services offered regularly at Franklin Motorsports. For all things karting, visit franklinkart.com. Welcome back to the EKN Debrief, episode number 100. Rob Howden alongside David Cole, as David provides us with a report of everything that happened at this year's Rock Island Grand Prix. We'll jump into a number of Briggs 206 classes right now. We'll go Briggs 206 Heavy 1, then Briggs 206 Heavy 2. Rock Island offering two different categories at each kind of level there, allowing people to get more track time. 19 entries in total in 206 Heavy 1. Race Liberante was the winner last year, and some big dogs have won here before. Lawson, Gary Lawson, as we know, Cal Stewart, Tony Nielsen, Connor Lund have all been able to win here. Lund all the way back in 2014. But fast forward 8 years, David, and Connor Lund finds himself winning a heat race as well.
Well, Connor Lund was actually the first Briggs 206 winner back in 2012 when the first class was introduced. That was actually the medium category, and then they introduced the heavy category in 2014 when he went out and won that race. So he's actually got two inaugural class wins at the Rock Island Grand Prix, and certainly was one of the drivers to beat. 206 heavy was the first category out on the racetrack each day. And so it was the first heat race on Saturday, and Lund was able to hold off Jerry Fandry by 69 thousandths of a second in a large lead pack battle for that heat race win. Wishard finished third in the heat race and was able to get himself up into the lead and led the first half of the race until Tony Nielsen, a 22-time winner, positioned himself up in the front of the field and led the second half of the race. It was a last lap battle with Nielsen getting pushed or passed by both Connor Lund and Jeff Dolian as they entered turn one. And then Lund was able to hold off Dolian in the final few corners to be able to cross the line first, holding on by 64 thousandths of a second at the line ahead of Dolian. Justin Wishard was able to get by Nielsen along with Drake Ostrom to finish third and fourth.
Let's go to 206 Heavy 2 now. 17 entries doing the double. They're running both classes. Michael Dittmer, the defending winner. And again, Nielsen, Mike Welsh, Cal Stewart, all former winners of this 206 Heavy category. Justin Wishart had a pretty solid weekend all total, won the heat race, David, but things kind of shook around a little bit for the final.
Yeah, it was a big lead pack in the main event. Dolian led the first 11 laps before he got shuffled back with Ostrom taking over the top position. And then on the last lap, it was another battle in all different corners. I believe Nielsen was sitting there second, and then Riley Scott was sitting there in third. And as they came around, Scott was able to get by both of them in the final few corners to come across with the victory and a solid one ahead of Connor Lund, Scott Barnes, Drake Ostrom, and Tony Nielsen.
It's interesting. You're going to hear the Scott name quite a bit throughout this show. I actually dropped a message to David throughout the week and said, man, the Scotts had a really good weekend because I could see them at the top of the charts quite a bit. First win in the category for Riley Scott, right?
Yeah, his first couple of rocks came in 2018, I believe was the year. And so this was his first in this category.
We'll keep talking about Riley Scott as we jump into 206 Medium 1, 16 winners in total. Tony Nielsen, the legend, your defending winner. Scott, David, ends up starting the weekend off pretty well with a heat race victory.
Yeah, got the heat race win, held off Aaron Snyder by 87 thousandths of a second. Drake Ostrom was right there in third, Matt Payway in fourth, and Michael Welsh in the fifth spot. Payway actually sat out Sunday's action with a rib injury. So I can kind of relate to that as it's not fun to get around Rock Island Grand Prix with a rib injury.
Yeah, at least you sucked it up though, David.
Yeah, well, they weren't sure if it was broken rib or if it was muscle. So
you don't want to mess around with that, though,
by
right?
the advisement of a close doctor friend, he said, do not go back out there.
Smart.
Well, really what it was when I talked to him, he said he couldn't breathe. He could get in the cart, but the seat was just too tight and he just couldn't breathe. So
ouch.
that's always an issue when you gotta, actually breathe to live.
Yeah. Right. All right, let's give us the lineup. How things roll out in the main event.
Main event. Well, it started. Ostrom was in the third spot, and just something with the Nerf bar broke and actually caused his cart to drag going into turn 6, and he wrecked hard into the walls there, but luckily was able to walk away. But the cart was a little bit banged up from that contact with the wall there. Essentially, that allowed Riley Scott and Carter Pryor to kind of get out to a big lead as they ran nose to tail. Pryor kept on the bumper of Scott for the entire distance aside from the lead lap. By that time, they had a group that had finally closed up and gotten to their back bumper. So it was a little bit of a battle on that last lap. I even believe there was a little bit of contact because as they came around turn 6, Riley Scott's front fairing was sitting straight up in the air, flopping away as he took the checkered flag first by 76 thousandths of a second ahead of Carter Pryor.
Yeah, I saw that photo. I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah, the little bit of contact there on that last lap. I'm not exactly sure where it happened, but somebody got inside of him, a little bit of contact, but he was able to pass right back for the lead and then come away with the victory.
Okay, let's jump into 206 medium 2, the second category for the 206 medium drivers. 14 entries in total. Mick Gabriel, the winner from last year. Riley Scott's been a winner there before. Justin Wishart, talking about him quite a bit throughout this weekend. He ends up winning the heat race over Drake Ostrom.
Yeah, we talked a lot about him before too. He had kind of a breakout weekend years ago at the Rock Island Grand. I think it was his first ever Rock Island Grand Prix when he was old enough to compete in the senior categories. Obviously still kind of searching for that first Rock victory. He did get that in KA, or the King of the Rock 100, but was certainly among the contenders all weekend long in all the different Briggs categories. He ended up leading the first 13 laps of the main event in medium 2 until contact dropped him out of the race, along with trying to think who else it was. Can't remember who it was off the top of my head. Anyway, so contact took him out of the lead and out of the race. That essentially put Carter Pryor into the lead as they took the white flag. But as they came around for the final circuit, it was Drake Ostrom that. No, sorry, I wrote that wrong. Trying to figure this out here.
It's all right.
It's okay. Again, there's 17 races, and I get everything confused. So anyway. So it was Wishart that I'm trying to think. Not quite sure. So Pryor, okay, all right. Anyway,
Wheeler
Pryor, huh?
You have Wheeler.
I know
here.
Wheeler won the race. Yes, so I might have just put Ostrom, and I think I'm supposed to have met Wheeler. So anyway, Pryor led to the white flag, and it was Ashton Wheeler, that was able to get around Pryor. I want to say in either turns 2 or 3, because as they came around turn 5, he was leading the way and was able to cross the line 0.2 of a second ahead of Drake Ostrom. Pryor slipped back to the third position. Michael Welsh had fast lap of the race in 4th, with Charlie Moore in 5th position.
Yeah, third different winner in the class in the third year, and a third career win for Ashton Wheeler as well, having won in 2016 and 2021. Now, folks, those of you tuning in to listen to this, remember, David Cole sitting at start finish. You can't see the racetrack, right? So you literally have to figure out what happens as they come around the front straightaway, and then go to talk to all the drivers to find out actually what happened in the race.
Yeah, and I have a bad habit of not writing everything down, thinking, oh, I'll remember that, and I didn't remember that one, so I apologize for that.
I was able to remember for my first 20 years in the sport too, David. It's these last 5 and 6. I can't remember everything that happens at the racetrack.
Yeah, I'm on 18, so
you're on 18. You're getting there. We'll cap up this section with a 206 Masters, 13 drivers in total. Jeff Dolian, defending winner, and came in strong. Gary Lawson, Jeff Scott, Tony Nielsen, all former winners as well of the 206 Masters category. Nielsen pipped me back in that first year, which pissed me off. But
any hard feelings there?
Well, listen, I shouldn't have any hard feelings because I should have finished at least second, but I let Jasperson and Scott go by me in the last lap and I didn't defend. So that was my issue there. But listen, Jeff Dolian came out of the gate pretty strongly again, David, the defending winner, trying to get back to it again, had good speed, was able to win the heat race over Don Newman.
Yeah, it was Dolian, Newman, and Scott Barnes that were running 1, 2, and 3. Unfortunately, on lap 4, a little bit of contact between Dolian and Newman sent them into the barriers. Barnes had nowhere to go and was collected as well. Barnes actually ended up on his side, a little bit upside down, kind of pinned between carts and the wall. Thankfully, all the competitors were able to avoid that were behind them. And then the good work by all the corner workers and everybody that was right there at the turn 6 wall were able to get everybody out of the way and all the carts off and over the walls before the field came back around the next time by. So,
hey, David, let's take an opportunity to give a shout out to the corner workers at Rock Island. That is one of the amazing things, right? Anytime you hear that big boom of somebody getting into the barriers, they all go to work, hop over the fence. They get those. It's not a long lap here, folks. You hear us talking about 35, 36, 37 second laps. You got to get the job done quickly, and they do a great job getting all the carts are involved on the other side of the barriers. It's just amazing the work they do.
Yeah, thankfully it was at turn 6 where a lot of the mechanics and those that were involved were watching their racers were right there to be able to help pull everything. I was actually there too as well. There's just a lot of people help chipping in, so that was good. Again, nice. Safely, because again, you don't want to do it unsafely. And everybody's making sure, listening for that call of when the carts were coming. And kept their heads up. So that wreck put Dittmer out into the lead and was there until the last lap when the racers up front, I think there was about 6 drivers in the pack then, were all battling for position. Jeff Scott, who came across the white flag in 4th position, ended up coming around turn 6 with the lead and was able to score his second victory in the category.
Yeah.
Driving away to a 0.4 of a second victory over Todd Bolton, Aaron Snyder, Michael Welsh, and then Dittmer falling back to 5th on that final circuit.
Good run there for Jeff Scott. Nicely done. All right, another little break here. And when we get back, it's time to jump into the Mark A program. Ignite up next. CRG is one of the most iconic brands in karting, and we're primed and ready for the 2022 season with new material and a never-ending focus on winning. CRG Nordam is the North American distributor for all CRG products. Based outside of Houston, Texas, CRG Nordam supports CRG dealers across the continent, reaching every corner of North America. The CRG KT5 is our new chassis for tag and shifter racing, and it's been designed specifically for the U.S. market. The KT5 features 30mm construction with a 32mm front loop to increase front grip. CRG's new VEN 13 brake system is cutting-edge technology with a master cylinder that allows for pressure regulation within the system. Drivers can customize brake pressure to their own requirements to improve feel and to avoid brake lockup. The kart is finished with new KG 507, 508 bodywork that has refined aerodynamics and reduced weight. For cadet drivers, the 2022 CRG Black Mirror is already logging positive results to start the new season. This chassis will be making big waves in 2022. Longtime CRG drivers will be happy to know that the CRG Road Rebel, the standard in quality and performance, is still available. With 4-cycle racing enjoying consistent growth in North America, CRG's FS4 chassis is the ideal choice for racers in Briggs & Stratton competition. From pure racing to karting entertainment, many tracks, both indoor and outdoor, have made the switch to the CRG Centurion rental kart line. 5 different models for both gas-powered or electric engines can fit any track's needs for a new rental kart fleet. CRG Nordam has a full inventory of rental karts available for new and existing facilities. For more information on the CRG product line, head to www.kartcrg.com, and to inquire about a North American dealer near you, please email us at info@kartcrg-nordam.com. Cometic Gasket is a leading worldwide supplier of gaskets and engine sealing solutions for karting, automotive performance, power sports, original equipment, and the remanufactured engine industries. Cometic karting gaskets are available as OE replacement top-end kits or as individual gaskets and seals. Just like competitive karters, Cometic can operate on the fly and has a unique capability to customize any gasket to meet specific engine requirements and clearances. All of Cometic's fiber materials are asbestos-free and do not require any additional sealants. Viton oil ring cylinder head seals are used in each 2-cycle kit, and Cometic's 4-cycle engine kits feature only the most advanced multi-layer steel head gaskets. Cometic can tailor to engine builder-specific needs through bulk ordering and packaging flexibility. Cometic gaskets are must-haves for championship-winning teams across multiple disciplines of both professional and amateur motorsports. Cometic gasket, sealing championships since 1989. Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network and our debrief of this year's Rock Island Grand Prix. David Cole giving us a full rundown of all the action that happened at the Labor Day Classic. David, let's jump into these the Ignite categories. We've got 2 senior classes and the Masters class as well. 14 drivers in Ignite Senior 1. Ashton Wheeler, defending race winner. You go back to guys like Evan Stammer, Scott Barnes, Jordan Bernlauer, Jeff Doley, and Jeremy Remick. All former winners of the Ignite Senior category at the Rock Island Grand Prix. But coming out of the gate, winner of the heat race, Gage Kemp.
Yeah, a number of different drivers looking for their first victory in this category. Gage Kemp, one of them. Barnes, a former winner, ended up finishing second ahead of Justin Vansel, another driver looking for his first victory, along with Brandon Moore and Riley Scott, who actually had the win last year taken away for being light at the scales. So a little bit of redemption on the mind of Riley Scott heading into this category for sure. Barnes led the second half of the main event, essentially 4 drivers battling it out for the lead, including Barnes, Nielsen, Vansel, and then Riley Scott there sitting in the 4th position. As they took the white flag for the last lap, it was Nielsen and Vansel that were able to draft past Barnes for the top spot. And then as they went into turn 2, Vansel made his way around Nielsen for that top position. And then things shook up in turn 3 again. A little bit of contact with Vansel and Scott sent Vansel over into the wall and took him out of the race. And then as they came into the final corner, Nielsen was actually leading the race. And then Barnes made a move on the inside. The 2 made contact. Nielsen went backwards into the wall. Barnes got his pace slowed down. That allowed Riley Scott to pull the good little over-under, keep the momentum going, and was able to slip by that wreck and was able to go on to score the victory. Barnes came across the line in the second spot, was penalized, though, 10 seconds for the contact with Nielsen. That actually ended up moving Charlie Keevan up into the second spot, moving Barnes down into the 3rd spot.
Wow, Ashton Wheeler and Mike Stevenson rounding out the top 5 in a crazy Ignite Senior main event. And David, you talked about this in the outlap. So Scott's win, he's the 7th different winner in 7 years.
That is correct. 7
That's
different
awesome.
winner in 7 years. I love it. That's what makes this Ignite category so much fun.
Agreed. Let's go to Ignite Senior 2. They did it twice on the weekend, as many other classes did. 13 entries. Scott Barnes, of course, coming in as the defending winner. You talked about Vansel already. He was strong there as well. Ended up winning the heat race for Ignite Senior 2.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, with the wreck in Senior 1, was unable to make the start for Senior 2 due to a leg injury and, of course, cart damage due to the incident. Very similar injury, by the way, with a very bruised up and cut up left leg. I said, well, join the club, because I've been there in turn 3 as well, too.
You've been there. You have, actually. That's right. Yeah.
So luckily he's able to walk away. I did talk to him, a little bit of a concussion. So hope the best for him. Also with Tony Nielsen in that wreck with Scott Barnes, concussion there as well, too. He actually ended up sitting out the remainder of the event due to that concussion.
Wow. Okay. Some big wrecks in turn number 3 and turn number 6. Let's talk more about this main event then. How did things play out in the race, Dave?
This race, Barnes essentially was up front for a majority of it. Him and Ashton Wheeler were kind of going back and forth, but Barnes was certainly the driver, kind of on the mission to try and get his first rock of the event. And this was one of those races that was towards the end of the day as well. So they were able to go back and forth, but Barnes was able to secure it with a pass on the last lap and secured that first rock trophy of the weekend. And then Riley Scott was able to slip by Wheeler there for the second position as well on that final circuit, ahead of Kevin and Mike Stevenson for the 5th spot.
Yeah, back-to-back jacks for Scott Barnes, right? Sketchy winning last year as well, winning this time. So second straight win in the class for Scott Barnes. Let's go to Ignite Masters. 6 drivers, just 6, which is such a surprise to me. Tony Nielsen, of course, has won 3 times in the class. I believe, 2 times in the class. Pete Vedder a couple times as well, Pistol Pete. Scott Barnes coming out of the gates and winning the heat race over Nielsen, Moore, Stevenson, and Scott Blind. But how did things play out in the main event?
Yeah, Barnes looked like he was a strong one. He had a pretty good advantage in the heat race to kind of drive away to that win. But this time, the field kind of kept him close. At first, it was a 4-driver fight, but then it ended up being 2 with Scott Barnes and Nielsen getting together, and they were able to kind of drive away from the rest of the other 2 drivers. It ended up being a last lap contact. I'm not sure, can't remember which turn it was, but there was contact between Nielsen and Barnes. That sent Barnes into the wall, ending his race, allowing Tony Nielsen to drive to the checkered flag to again earn his 3rd straight victory in the category.
So I'm assuming that Ignite Masters happened then before Senior 1, right?
It was early on in the day, correct?
So Barnes and Nielsen had a couple of run-ins on the weekends. What you're telling me?
Yeah, at least 2 that we know of.
At least 2 that we know of. All right, another break. We come back. We'll go 100cc. I will go 2-cycle rather. 100cc Senior Yamaha Super Can Heavy.
Hold on, I got a couple. I forgot note at the end there.
What do you got? I thought you said that. Oh, okay. Drop the note on Tony Nielsen.
Well, first off, Jeff Dolian sub for Scott Blind, right? Blind. Ended up finishing 2nd ahead of Brandon Moore and Mike Stevenson, with Barnes ending up 5th because it was DNF. But the highlight, Tony Nielsen earned his 23rd victory at the Rock Island Grand Prix. So now he is only 5 wins away from the Emperor Gary Lawson.
That's it. So 28 for Lawson, 23 for Nielsen. I like it. With you're within 5, Nielsen could do it in any season, any year, right?
Well, he needs that. What was it, 2015 when he won 6 of them?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so he'll need to repeat that in 2023 for sure.
All right, as I said, ladies and gentlemen, when we get back after this break, it'll be 100cc Senior Yamaha Super Can Heavy. We'll jump into the shifter categories as well. We'll wrap up the race report segment right after this.
You want the best? You just got to roll with the best. Streeter Superstands. This is Jeff Wessel from StreeterSuperstands.com. You wouldn't put subpar parts on your racing cart, so why put that cherished ride of yours on anything but karting's #1 lifts and stands, Streeter Superstands. Streeter is the original and genuine manufacturer of the second-to-none Bigfoot rolling stands, stackers, uprights, and industry-leading Superlift. We also manufacture and sell the largest and always growing roster of trailer and shop accessories like tire, engine and jug racks, cabinets, spray can trays, bead breakers, and tons more to outfit any size trailer, team, and budget. Streeter Superstands has over 30 continuous years of experience. We're kart racers just like you and know that the Streeter name represents the absolute best in stands, lifts, and accessories for karting enthusiasts worldwide. Durability, affordability, unmatched quality, and customer service, that's what sets us apart from the rest. Check us out now at StreeterSuperstands.com. Roll with the best, StreeterSuperstands.com.
All over the karting world, everyone knows OTK is the gold standard for quality and performance. In the US, OTK USA is the source for all things OTK. From the legendary Tony Kart brand to the race-winning Cosmic and Xtream chassis, and now the new Red Speed and EOS brands, OTK quality is second to none. All 5 brands are winning races and championships across the country in national programs like the Ruck Cup USA Florida Winter Tour and the Challenge of the Americas, the SCUSA Pro Tour and Winter Series, and the Pro Kart Challenge, United States Pro Kart Series, and the WKA Manufacturers Cup. And OTK products are also front and center on the podium of club and regional races from coast to coast. To learn more about a specific product line, you can find the OTK USA dealer near you, whether it's Tony Kart, Cosmic, Xtream, Red Speed, or EOS. Visit www.otkusa.com. Specific chassis territories are still available, so kart shops interested in adding a winning component to their product lineups can contact OTK USA directly. Welcome back to the EKN Debrief. It's episode number 100. The century mark for our Debrief Race Report podcast. Rob Howden here with David Cole, who was trackside at the Rock Island Grand Prix. He's bringing us all the insight into what happened throughout Sunday's main events. 100cc senior category, 8 entries in total, much bigger last year, 8 coming in this year. Chase Jones was the winner last year and did not make the trek to Rock Island this year. David, you did mention that Oscar Pinozzo earlier in the show that he made his first trip to Rock Island and was actually out front early as the heat race winner in 100cc senior.
I will tell you one thing. Oscar Pinozzo probably has the record for hitting the wall the most times on the weekend without wrecking.
Really?
It was either turn 1, turn 6, and I'm sure probably any of the other 4 corners that he would just get the back end of the cart out just enough to tap the wall, but keep going straight, and certainly was quick doing it. Again, pushing to the limit, getting every inch of the racetrack.
Barely.
You know, had fast lap in the main event as well too, and then won this heat race. But every time this guy was on track, he was tapping the walls. It was a show,
Dancing on the razor's edge.
Totally. He definitely kept Dave and Jay on point, waiting for him to do something. Because again, it was turn 6. We could all see it. Yep. It was just, and you could hear it. That was the crazy part. Again, with only 6, 7 carts out on the track at the time, you can hear it everywhere they were doing it.
That's awesome.
Anyway, so yeah, after winning the heat race, though, Justin Wishart jumped out to the lead in the main event and led the majority of the race. Very similar to what we saw in King of the Rock 100. Austin Wilkins came charging in towards the end of the race. This time, he led 2 laps up until the white flag lap. Justin Wishart able to pull off the last lap pass once again and beat him to the line to score a second rock on the weekend for Justin Wishart.
Yeah, a 1/10 of a second triumph over Wilkins. Charlie Moore in third spot. Pinozzo with that fast lap of the race of 34.652 ends up P4. Riley Scott rounding out the top 5. 10 entries in Yamaha Super Can Heavy. Gage Rucker, the defending winner, and he was in the action here this year as well. Other winners in past years, Morgan Schuler, Tim Getch, of course, Tony Nielsen, Tony Jump, Michael Dittmer, Gary Lawson. Charlie Moore, though, David, ends up winning the heat race over Gage Rucker, Blake Korth, Drake Ostrom, and Todd Bolton. But it sounds to me like Drake Ostrom was really the guy to beat in the main event.
Yeah, this was a good one that went to the wire. 4 drivers, or I think it was 3 drivers battling. No, it was 4 drivers with Blake Korth kind of trailing, closing in, getting closer and closer to the lead group. And you, by the way, you forgot to mention my 5th place finish in 2014.
I did not mention your 5th place finish, which was a strong run, David.
Amazing run with the, again, busted rib. Anyway,
still not the best finish by an EKN staff member at the Rock Island.
I think it was probably one of the more amazing performances.
I don't think so, David.
Okay.
I don't think so. I qualified second to Tony Nielsen, ran second, and then finished 4th.
I think there was another performance you did better at, but I can't quite remember that. I think I finished 6th in Tag Master one year and 6th. That one I think was more impressive because you didn't go out for morning warm up.
No, I did not go for morning warm up. I had Saturday night fever.
Anyway,
it's the year in the Margay was good too because that's when Keith Freeber and I were kung fu fighting. So
that's what I'm saying. That was a good year
with Greg Dingus that year too in the Digger.
Exactly. Now look at him. He's an amazing photographer, videographer. He wants nothing to do with wrenching on a cart for you.
I would think he'd do it for me again. But yeah, Greg Dingus has become a fantastic media member for sure. But yeah, we had a really, really good time that year running the 206. That was a really good time. Okay, so you finished 5th. We will say that there was a potential for the best ever Howden Media Group staff member.
Yeah.
That was Tim Blaney. But he ran out of talent in turn number 4 and didn't make it to the checker flag.
No, he turned in too early there. That's something you can't do.
Remember what chassis he was on?
The Arrow.
The Arrow. That's
with
exactly
a
right.
Rotax.
With a Rotax. That's
Shane
right.
Shipley and the BTK Motorsports.
That's it. There you go. Yeah, awesome stuff. Okay, so let's wrap things up with this one here.
Yeah,
let's talk
sorry.
about the. Let's talk about.
So yeah, it was a. It was a. I was using the story to help me remember what was going on in this race.
Yep.
It was a 4-driver battle, and Blake Korth was kind of quick and kind of trailing, and as they kept mixing it up, was getting closer and closer. Well, they ended up mixing it up on the final lap. Drake Ostrom was sitting there in third and was able to come around in first with a little bit of contact between Charlie Moore and Todd Bolton. So that shook things up as Ostrom was able to come around to score his second victory, because again, this was the last class of the day, his second victory of the event and first in the category.
That really is something that happens at Rock Island, right? That last lap, you could be P3 and you never know what happens. Someone dives down the inside. You just got to be ready for the over-under. You got to be able to take advantage of whatever opportunity comes to you. So yeah, congrats to Drake Ostrom there for sure.
And another reason I bring that up is probably because it's Blake Korth, who ended up finishing second because of all that contact, was probably running the same motor that I kept pushing around into 2014, because that was Tim Hollowell, who was working with Mark. I can't remember his last name, but the same mechanic that was working with Korth. So I'm wondering if it's the same Yamaha engine that Korth was using.
2 more categories to wrap things up. Open Shifter Masters and Open Shifter. 5 entry in the Masters class. Joe Rook, the defending race winner. Of course, he came in to try to battle it out here as well. Scott Skitchy Barnes ends up winning the heat race, David, over Joe Rook. Tiffany Kelly and Justin Kelly made their Rock Island debuts. They were 3rd and 4th in the heat race.
Yeah, it was a bad heat race for Justin Kelly. There with a brand new GFC chassis. And again, their heat race was moved to Saturday morning. He got about 2 laps in before he came around turn 6. And just, kind of like how we were talking with Pinozzo, was making just a little bit of slight contact. Well, this was more than slight contact. He got more of the tire involved in the contact, and the barriers just wrapped him right up, sent him around like a rag doll, and destroyed the new GFC chassis. So, Not a good way to open up Sunday for Justin Kelly. And then Tiffany Kelly actually put it in the wall 2 laps later. So it was a little busy of a tent. It was a little busy of a tent there Sunday morning for both the Kellys. Thankfully, they were able to get Tiffany's cart back going for for this main event. Justin actually ran her cart in the King of the Streets race, and he was able to put down some good laps and just get some laps in as they were making their first Rock Island Grand Prix.
So give us the lineup. How things go in the remainder of the main event.
Yeah, so essentially the entire event belonged to Scott Skitchy Barnes. Won the heat race handedly over Joe Rook with another dominating performance in the main event, winning by 2.6 seconds ahead of the defending winner to earn what I believe is his 3rd time in this category. Let me see here. Where'd he go? Yep, 3rd time in this category, winning in 2019 and 2015. The ironic part, he had 2010 winner Chris Enderline wrenching for him on the weekend. So I guess Enderline picked up another rock victory for himself in the category.
6 wins total for Scott Barnes on the career, tied now with Eric Jones and Caleb Lanuski, 9th overall in the career wins at the Rock Island Grand Prix. Let's go to Open Shift now. 5 entries in total. Austin Wilkins, your defending winner. Heat race, though, again, you talked a lot about Badozzo. He just really, really seems to have things handled. Really, I think that's this track and the nature and how you have to attack it really kind of lends itself to Andrew Badozzo, right? Because this is the guy that likes to hang it out there.
He's the new Wild Thing. I mean, essentially is what it is. It used to be Josh Lane for many, many years. Now that Josh is, focused on Gage's motocross, career, he's stepped away from karting. So the new Wild Thing is Andrew Badozzo, who again, dominated the open shifter category, went untouched in the heat race, driving away to a 5.6 second victory over Austin Wilkins. Again, attrition was a big one in this one. This was after King of the Street. So Wilkins was unable to make the start as he had something loose on the cart after they tried to rebuild it after King of the Streets. And then Robbie Badozzo was out after contact with a barrier with a broken axle or a bent axle. and then a broken axle for Blake Horth about midway through the race. Actually, the axle snapped right near where the drive gear is on the axle. So that was it was a very attrition race. Bedozo actually slowed up to allow AJ Myers, who was actually getting on track and racing for the first time on Sunday. So they were able to drive 1-2 to the finish.
Yeah, Korth, Bedozo, and Wilkins, of course, DNFs, as you said, 3rd, 4th, and 5th in the final tally of the 5 drivers. But Bedozo with the win, and that wraps things up for the race report. Again, one more break. We get back. David will wrap things up. We'll look at the Constructors' Championship, talk about the brands that actually scored victories, and then we'll cap off this edition of the Debrief with the EKN Trackside Live race calendar to let you know where we'll be over the next couple of weeks. Stay tuned. We'll wrap things up after this. Top-level production with a focus on a single form of motorsport, karting. This is MG Tires. MG Tires USA, underneath the Vantage Karting Group banner, is the official distributor of the MG Tires brand for the United States. MG Tires are the official spec tire in the US Pro Kart Series, Route 66 Sprint Series, Sunshine State Karting Challenge, and countless clubs across the country. No matter your compound preference, MG Tires USA has you covered. Whether it's the medium SH Red or the soft SM Yellow that you find at many karting events in the US, or the super soft green SS and the intermediate white IC optional compounds, MG Tires USA has your winning set of rubber in stock. Indoor and outdoor rental facilities can now trust MG Tires with their solution to long-lasting and the best performance with 3 different compounds available through the RL line. For more info about MG Tires USA and its extensive list of dealers near you, check out their website at mgtiresusa.com. MG Tires, for the drivers. The Briggs & Stratton 206 engine is where out-of-the-box ease and outstanding consistency meet to create legendary races. Briggs & Stratton's history of motorsports dates back to when the first engines came off the assembly line in the early 1900s. Their focus on the grassroots level continues to help build generations of racers. Since 2008, the Briggs & Stratton 206 has gained a following that has the engine powering the largest fields in North American karting today. From the club level track programs to traveling regional series and national events, Briggs & Stratton competition provides the most exciting racing in the sport. Engineered and hand-built exclusively for racing, every Briggs & Stratton 206 engine is power tested and serialized before it goes in the box. Karters can take that engine straight from the box to their kart and be on the podium at the end of race day. Be sure to follow Briggs & Stratton Racing on Facebook and through @RaceBriggs on Instagram. To learn more about the 206 engine or to find the North American dealer near you, head to BriggsRacing.com. Briggs & Stratton Racing, what powers you? Welcome back to episode number 100, a mile marker for the EKN Debrief show. Rock Island Grand Prix happening on Labor Day weekend. David Cole was trackside. We just gave you a class-by-class report on the action of this year's event. David, let's wrap things up. What are your thoughts on the 27th running of the Rock Island Grand Prix?
Well, one thing I pointed out earlier, there seemed like there were more fans there. So that was a good positive thing with the 2022 Xtream Rock Island Grand Prix. You know, obviously COVID restrictions last year probably kept people away or just the fear, again, of being in a big setting like the Rock Island Grand Prix. So it was good. You know, you walk around, there were, again, the tents, there was even RVs set up on the outside of turns 1 and 2. You know, fans sitting there in turns 3. They had the inner fan area between the front straightaway and turn 4. So that was busy with, the 61 Cartways booth and all the food vendors and a little bit more. Again, I think there's just a little bit more they could do around the event itself. Again, not the on-track stuff we're talking about. It's the off-track stuff, because it just seems like it's not the same anymore, where they're not bringing in car clubs or, even just schools or, anything to kind of be there, promote themselves or, promote the area or do something to help bring people down to the Rock Island Grand Prix. So again, just something that that needs to be looked at over the next 12 months for sure.
Obviously, a lot of craziness you mentioned from the very get-go. We talked about the storm that came through with the lightning. You got to probably, I would expect that the staff kind of had to dig in to make things happen there.
Yeah, they kind of had to rework Sunday's schedule a little bit in the morning. The racers were on board with it. And thankfully, it was only 3 heat races we had to get done and not, half the events. So thankfully, we're hoping the rain was going to hold off till the end, but it didn't. But, the staff did a great job, kept things on schedule. Sunday we sat there, we had driver intros and the scheduling was a little off on that. They could have done it in 5 minutes, but they had it scheduled for 15. And so we kind of sat there for 10 minutes, but they stayed on schedule and did a great job. You made sure, called the red flags when they needed to call the red flags. I do think, though, they need to look at getting some more barriers involved. There was a couple sections that looked a little bit sketchy to me, and even one driver hitting a tree that was uncovered. So again, it's just they got to continue to keep safety in mind, and they more barriers. You can never go wrong with more barriers. The more barriers you have, the better.
Agreed. So, David, in the end with the numbers that we saw? What do we do? What do we do to get new people, old people back to the Rock Island Grand Prix?
I don't know. I'd really like to hear what people think, especially those who have been at Rock Island and why they're not going back. Mm-hmm. I know scheduling is one of the issues, but is there something that will bring you back? People have talked about, well, we just got to do P-picks and race. Well, I don't think that's the answer. I think there needs to be maybe a change in the format. Maybe we run the ideas I'm thinking of. Maybe we run some of these classes on Saturday. So they're a Saturday only category, and we put some main events, just like 7 or 8 on Sunday. One, it narrows up the schedule so spectators aren't there for 6 to 7 hours.
Yeah.
And kind of amps up these specific categories. Again, you got your King of the Rock categories. You got your open masters, your certain categories that are kind of the main show, and put them on Sunday. And then that way you still can kind of get, enough track time and enough racing to warrant, the entry fee that people are paying. And then again, the outside part of it needs to improve as well too, in order to make it better all around.
I hear you. Let's have a look at the Constructors Championship. They have 8 different brands scoring race wins. No, you got 5 different brands.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah, that's 5 different brands scoring race wins on the weekend.
Yeah, 3 different brands scored 3 victories. Again, we have the Ignite that are their spec chassis, so we don't include those.
Yep.
But Magic Cart got 3 victories, along with the Comet Eagle chassis getting 3, and then Ionic Edge getting 3 victories, all with the Scott name aboard on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
EOS with 2, certainly with Justin Wishard picking up 2 victories in the 100cc categories on the EOS chassis. And then Coyote, picking up 1 with Ashton Wheeler driving the Travis DeVrent Memorial Kart.
Oh, very cool. That's great to see that one get to the front. All right, folks, let's go to the EKN Trackside Live race calendar presented today by Parolin USA. It all started in 1994 when former kart driver Albino Parolin decided to move his passion for karting from the track to his small workshop. That's when Parolin was born. Parolin USA is North America's source for Parolin products, and we run a factory race team at all the major Superkarts USA, USPKS, and Rock Cup USA events. The Parolin chassis lineup for 2022 includes the Invader Shifter, the Le Mans Tag single-speed chassis for junior and senior drivers, the 28mm Opportunity model for the cadet classes, and the Daytona 4-cycle chassis. Get on the chassis that's winning. Drive a Parolin. For more information, head to ParolinUSA.com. All right, this is the EKN Trackside Live race calendar. We've got a number of events coming up here over the next, essentially, month. We're just a couple of weeks away. David, you're going to wrap things up at Newcastle Motorsports Park, back to the track you go to so many times every year for the USPKS Hoosier State Grand Prix. Trying to wrap things up for the United States Pro Kart Series.
Or in honesty, this section should have been supported by Newcastle Motorsports.
It should have been. It should have been. You should have had comic cart sales on that one.
Yeah, but
it
is.
Well, hold on, Dave. For folks, all 3 races that we're going to are going to be at Newcastle for the next month.
Yeah. So, looking forward to wrapping up the 10th season of the United States Pro Kart Series and their 4th event of the season, going back to Newcastle Motorsports Park. The last time playing on the EKN radio network right now is the 2019 USPKS finale, which was at Newcastle. So that was the last time we had the finale there at the Newcastle, Indiana facility. So again, looking to do rounds 7 and 8 on September 16th through the 18th.
Yeah, 2 weeks later, we'll be back there, and David and I will be doing trackside coverage there as well. But it'll be an interesting one because both of us will be driving as well, as will our new editorial assistant, Nate Dean. All three of us will be racing at the Cup Karts North America Grand National 6. Super excited about that one, David. Newcastle once again, but I've had to miss the last couple of Grand Nationals due to conflicts. I'm so excited to be back this year.
Yeah, excited to have you back there. Again, you might even be able to get on the mic with Dave Mack. I'm sure he's going to love that because he hasn't seen you in years. But mainly, it's us getting back behind the wheel. I haven't touched anything since last year's event, so I'm itching and itching. You've had the opportunity to jump in a kart, so that's good for you. You'll be prepped. Your body's getting prepped.
Dude, I'm there, dude. I'm down 10 pounds. I'll be down another 10.
That just means you got to put 10 pounds on.
That's very true. Yeah, just more weight on the go-kart, right?
Yeah.
Well, so we'll be making official announcements coming up soon about what karts we're driving because yours not a huge surprise. Mine's kind of cool. Mine will play out. Mine will play out. But otherwise, and then we'll have Nate Dean there as well. It'll literally be the first time I'll ever have a chance to actually be trackside with Nate at an event, right?
I want to say you probably have been trackside, but never actually conversing and talking with him
as a staff member now, right?
Well, I've not seen him at the track either, but thankfully I'll get to see him in a couple weeks, so that's going to be good.
At the USPKS race.
Because I want to say the last time I actually saw him physically was when he was racing WKA race back a couple years ago.
There you go. And then interestingly, we will actually not be going far. Our Airbnb is actually for 12 days because we're staying. At least I'm staying. I know you're going to head back home, but I'm staying in Newcastle area. Because we're back, David, just a couple days later for the Rotax U.S. Trophy Final. That'll be another event that you and I've got coming up. Looking forward to that one. I'll be on the mic for that event. We're going to start. We'll be getting the drivers locked in for Team USA.
Yeah, that's going to be the exciting part. Getting not just Team USA, but drivers coming from Canada or other countries that could get some of the open tickets that are available, but. They'll be mashing up the East and West points from the Trophy Series programs, handing out tickets to those top points earners in each of the categories. And again, just kind of get that old kind of U.S. Rotax Grand Nationals feel to kind of again that event in 2020 that I loved it. It was great. I missed having that in 2021. I just love that feeling of, again, Rotax Grand Final tickets being awarded at the U.S. Finals. I just love that feeling.
So 3 straight races at the Newcastle Motorsports Park. Looking forward to being there, of course. Again, this edition of the EKN Trackside Live Calendar brought to you by Parolin USA. The entire show here by Comet Kart Sales. Our 100th edition of the Debrief is done. I cannot believe that we have knocked out 100 of these. Amazing stuff. David, thank you so much for providing the input. Obviously, a good weekend in Rock Island, but we'd love to see it return to what it is, what it was at one point, because it has been, for me, one of the great memories I have in my 2 decades of karting.
It's crazy to think that I'm actually been on the mic for over 100 episodes, right? Again, other shows, and hopefully now after 100 episodes I sound a little bit better than what I did. I still have some work to do. Again, it's just it's learning my vocal points and actually saying names correctly, but I'm going to continue to get those wrong and have a terrible voice for everybody to hear.
No, you're doing fine, David. That's awesome. We're always trying to get better, folks. All right, that wraps things up. Just a little over an hour show there. Hopefully you enjoyed our David's insight into the Rock Island Grand Prix, and hopefully that some momentum can be built for the 2023 edition. It would be number 28 of this fantastic race. I hope one day to be able to get back. Conflicts still for me with the Road to Indy events on Labor Day weekend in Portland. I'm expecting it'll be the same next year. So David will be trackside once again. Maybe we'll see if we can't coax him back behind the wheel one day. Folks, that wraps things up for this edition of the EKN Debrief. Thank you so much for tuning in here on the EKN Radio Network. On behalf of David Cole and Nate Dean, my name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.